Welcome back to the second release of the SPARKS magazine. And today we have Muqeet with us, and he's going to tell us a bit about his intercalated degree. So, hi Muqeet.
Hi, Fatma. So my name is Muqeet. I'm a fourth-year medical student at Leicester, and I intercalated in cognitive neuroscience at Aston University between my third and fourth year.
So tell me a bit more about your how it went.
Yeah, so basically how it started was when I was in third year, I started to get a bit bored of medicine. I was like, it's so repetitive, and it just kept on going. So I was like, I think I need to change, and I need to do something different. That's when I
Okay.
started looking into intercalated degrees. I had a strong interest in neuro from like our studies in phase one, and that kind of like fueled me to go towards a neuro-based degree.
So how was your experience of doing the intercalation?
I think it was great. My aims behind intercalating were obviously to get another degree, but it was a lot to do with do a degree which would be a bit relaxed, where I could spend time at home. This degree allowed me to come back home and study from home. I only had like a 6 hour week, which was very different to medical school.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Well, it's so
that
packed comparatively.
so there was like five. I had 5 days off in a week, and like I
Yeah,
was only in twice. It was
that's
beautiful.
nice. So I'm guessing you had lectures as well.
Yeah, so we had lectures twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
We had like three modules going on at a time. During those modules, you'll have 6 hours of contact time, but there was lots of assignments that were set from the beginning. So the term was divided into two semesters. First sem went from September all the way till Christmas, and then from Christmas till July. So there was a few lectures, there was a few seminars, there was a few practical sessions. It was quite mixed in that sense.
Quite different from medical school as well, isn't it? Because we're used to a lot of
Yeah.
just lectures, group work, and
Exactly. Yeah, it was very
yeah.
different. I think it wasn't even lectures; it was mainly discussions. They'd set assignments beforehand, and like tell us to research a topic or something, and then we would come and share our ideas. It was more stimulating than just sitting there and listening to a lecture.
So, what kind of research did you get involved in then?
40% of the masters was a research, like a research project. So we did academic stuff, the first 60%, and we were supposed to start our research project after May. But as you know, Corona uh,
Yeah.
came in the way, and then because of that, a lot of things got changed. So I was researching this rare autosomal recessive disorder called Bardet-Biedl syndrome. It's a disorder of the cilia, and so because it affects the cilia, it affects a lot of different systems in the body, and mainly the vision. Kids who have it by the age of 16, they lose their vision completely.
Oh wow.
We didn't really know much about the social aspect of these children, and previous research had been done that they have a lot of autistic traits. So my job initially was to go interview these children, do some of the autism questionnaires with them, and then compare whether they had those autistic traits and if there was something else, and where they diverged. But because that didn't happen, because we couldn't really do interviews, so we already had questionnaire data collected before at the beginning of the year. We just used those questionnaires, draw parallels with people who had autism versus these children.
So, COVID kind of took away from your full experience there, didn't
It
it?
did. It did. I was really looking forward to, because I was told that because it's such a rare disease, there's only about 6 or 7 kids in the UK who had actually signed up for the study out of the 15 who have it in the UK. Um,
That's really rare. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So we were supposed to be traveling up and down the country. Like I think there was patients in Devon, there's patients in Scotland, and I thought that this was going to be a good opportunity to travel around the UK and see a
Yeah.
few places, but then it didn't
Oh
really happen.
wow. You mentioned we quite a lot. So is this you were doing it in a group then?
Yeah, so I was in a pair with with another girl, whose project was very similar to mine, but was slightly different. So we were both researching different aspects of the behaviors of these children. Issue with these children was because there is no social background to them, like as in like how they interact, which is why we can't really determine the strategies to help them out. The main aim is eventually with this project, because it's a long 2 year study, is to develop nice guidelines for doctors to help them understand these patients better and devise strategies to help them.
That's quite nice being inclusive to even the rare diseases like that. That's really nice.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
How long was your dissertation that you had to write on this?
So it was a 10,000 word dissertation, and that seemed very daunting at the start. But then once I started writing it, I went well over the word count. I think I finished at like 12.5K. So I
Oh
cut
wow.
down 2.5K.
Oh wow. Because I think for me as well, when I think about doing an intercalation, it's kind of, I don't know, scary in a way that I have to write 10,000 words. And I
Yeah.
feel like, especially because we're doing such a medical degree where we don't really have to write essays, so it's something
Yeah.
very new and different.
Yeah, honestly, I felt the same when I was going into it. When I first found out that it's a 10K dissertation, I was like, well, how am I ever gonna, do this?
Yeah.
But I think a good thing about writing these dissertations is that there is a very set format, and if you just follow that format, you end up writing enough words for it to be 10K.
Do you feel like you got a lot of support as well in terms of all the research and the writing dissertation?
So I was the only person who was on the course who hadn't done a BSc in psychology. They all came back from a psychology background. So that put me behind quite a bit initially because, as you said, that we don't have any experience in writing essays or,
Yeah.
writing in general. I think I've never written anything, paper or anything during our course. So I struggled quite a bit initially because there was new skills like stats. Stats is quite an important subject when you're writing a dissertation. But the good thing was that I had some very good friends. I made some very good friends who kind of like helped me with the basics. They guided me to the right resources, and they helped me out where I needed it. Yeah.
And you also had a supervisor, right, that kind of guided you as well?
Yeah, yeah. So I was a science supervisor at the start of the year. So we discussed the project with them. They were quite helpful to determine what you needed to write. But the thing is that at the end of the day, you're doing the writing. So you have to figure out what the right way is. I think I picked up very quickly the style of writing by reading papers. The more you read, you realize I think you can adapt your style of writing. It's not as hard as you think. You might struggle at the beginning, very slightly because people know what they're doing, but you can catch up with them in a matter of like a couple of months.
So would you recommend other people as well to like step out and do an intercalation?
Yeah, so I know that the FPAS guidelines have changed where they have
Yeah.
removed the points where you got points for intercalating. But I think for myself, I never thought about the whole getting foundation points as being a motivation to intercalate. I think for
Mm.
me, my motivation to do it was to spend a bit more time with my family, take a step back and relax, and regain my own motivation for medicine, which I'd started to lose. I always wanted to see if I could, do a research degree, and that is something that I've actually, taken forward because I wanted to go into research later on. Now, if there is other motivations other than getting FPAS points, then definitely go for it. It doesn't really help you just at foundation level. It will really help you when you apply for your core training. It can either be core medical training or core surgical training. Speaking to some consultants in Burton, and he was like, the fact that you've intercalated, it is a big bonus when you go to apply for jobs because a lot of people you see who haven't intercalated, this might be the only thing that swings it in your favor. It is still very helpful, I'd say.
So you mentioned that you're now interested in a career research based.
Yeah.
Is that since after doing the intercalation?
Yeah, so initially I didn't know if I'd like research or not. When I experienced it, and I think the best way to know if you like something or not is to actually experience it for yourself. Because of the fact that I experienced it, it's solidified, in my mind that this is something that I want to do in the future.
And how about your motivation for medicine? Did that change at all after doing the intercalation?
It definitely came back. The thing is that the degree was so relaxed that I started to miss having a routine, going to placement, learning new stuff. That is something that I started to find quite annoying when I got to year three. But eventually I started to miss it again, and I can happily go through the next year and a half or two of medicine.
So you did obviously an intercalation in neuroscience first. So you came back to uni and you're now the lead of the neurosoc as well?
Yeah. Yes. So I realized that there wasn't a neuro-based society in Leicester, which is quite surprising. So many generations have been through, and no one actually thought about starting a neuro-related society. So me and a few friends got together over the summer, and we applied to the SUMA, and they said there is a gap. There isn't a society there for neurology. So we started a society. We're still, trying to figure our way around things. We're all quite new to it ourselves. But so far, we've had a few successful events. We actually had an intercalation event. Everyone in the committee has intercalated. So we all shared our experiences from intercalating. So that was a very successful event. We had a Christmas quiz. We're still trying to figure our way around things.
That's nice. Have you got any events coming up in the near future?
Yeah, so we're thinking of starting a like a journal club, but not really a journal club. So we're gonna be leading a session where we'll be going through papers. So that's on the agenda to help people see that it's not actually hard analyzing critique papers, which is also a very important uh, part of like AFP applications as well. So we'll be sharing our insights into papers to give people a structure as to how to do it. So that's one. We're looking forward to a few talks as well by some neurologists. Yeah, so there's a few things planned.
That sounds really interesting. I feel like they'd be really helpful to people, especially those that are struggling with this. It's always nice to step out, learn something new, and then share it with people as well so that we can all grow together.
Exactly. We're all in this together because end of the day, people who haven't intercalated, I feel like they can gain those skills themselves or from us as well. Things like reading papers or, writing essays and stuff. I think
Mm.
these things people find quite daunting if they haven't done it before, but it's not as hard as it seems.
I feel like everything is always seems a lot bigger until you've step in and you give it a try.
Exactly. And if you're motivated to do it, it's never too difficult. You can easily understand and make your way.
If
So
anybody has any questions, would you be happy for them to contact you?
yeah, you can just put my email in there. I'll be happy for them to
Well, that
contact.
should hopefully come up here soon. Thank you so much for talking to us. I hope you have a nice evening.
You too. You too. Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Ibrahim and I'm a fourth year Leicester medical student. Last year I intercalated at Imperial College London and I did it in cardiovascular sciences. So I did my BSc there. Just really enjoyed it. Like got to do a lot of stuff, learn a lot of things, get involved in some research projects and even now continuing to work with the team there.
So you mentioned that you got involved in quite a few research projects. Could you tell us more about that?
Built into the course, you get to do a research project at the end, and that lasts 15 weeks. So my first project, it was a lab-based project, and it was based on something called exosomes, which are small nanoparticles which are released by pretty much all cell types in the body, and they range from about 40 to 100 nanometers. So they're really, really small. They're quite novel in the sense that they're only recently being found to be used in many physiological processes such as like coagulation, and intracellular signaling and so forth. So there's been a lot of research kind of interested in them because they might be used as biomarkers for disease and also maybe used for therapies alike. So in these exosomes, they contain proteins, lipids, microRNAs, DNAs, and RNAs as well. They can be released by the cell and then uptaken by other cells in the body. So what we did was we were trying to look at the levels of these exosomes in patients undergoing cardiac bypass surgery. And we looked at the levels of the exosomes before, during bypass and after bypass and tried to see whether the levels were changing at all. So that meant I did go into theatre pretty much every day collecting blood samples from the patient. And then afterwards going back to the lab and then kind of processing the blood samples, purifying the blood and filtering the blood just so we can get the exosomes themselves. And then put that into a machine called a nanoparticle tracking analysis machine. And that would actually show you the levels of these exosomes in the blood. And it's really quite cool that you could see that. So that was my first project. It was quite full on, but unfortunately, COVID struck at that time. Unfortunately, that meant the project had to come to an end because I couldn't go into theatre to collect blood anymore and that all the labs closed at university. Yeah, that was a bit of a shame. So I had to kind of swap from doing that into a different one instead.
Okay. Do you think you found anything like relevant or anything interesting?
I wish I could say. So I collected pretty much all the blood samples from the 16 patients that we recruited. And I'd only been able to analyze about 2 patients worth of those samples. So the sample size was so small that I couldn't really glean any meaningful information from it, unfortunately. What I could say is that the levels of these exosomes before bypass, during, after bypass, they seem to be quite similar, maybe more after they'd been under bypass, but I can't say for sure because the small sample size and obviously you can't make conclusions from that. So
yeah, no, I understand you need quite a large sample size to be able to collect accurate enough data, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that you're still working with them. So is this something that you're going to continue working on with them, or is it kind of the end of the project?
Well, so this specific project, that ended. I haven't been able to continue with that. But the next project that I did, they were able to rearrange things and get us onto a different project because this was our dissertation, so we had to at least do something. So I was put on a bioinformatics project instead. So that was something that I could work from home with. The lab had already taken samples from cardiac tissue in patients that from two groups. They both had ischemic heart disease, and one of the groups had ischemic heart disease with diabetes. The other group had ischemic heart disease but without diabetes. And what they did was they took samples and they measured what microRNAs were kind of being expressed in those tissues. So, and microRNAs, they're involved in gene regulation, gene silencing mainly. They generally down-regulate genes. And they found that there were some differences in the levels of them between the two tissues. So what we wanted to do is find out what pathways they were involved in, what sort of biological pathways were they involved in, and using this kind of predictive computational approach. So we had a big list of microRNAs that we found, and we wanted to find out what they did. So these had a basic Excel spreadsheet of like hundreds or maybe even thousands of microRNAs, and you had to use some different databases to figure out what biological pathways they're in, whether they're significant or not. And that involved a lot of, had to learn computer programming, had to learn the programming language R, using large data sets to see what sort of pathways and what differences there were between the two groups. So that's what I did for my second.
So you mentioned you had to learn computer programming. Was this something you got familiar with before, or was it a skill that you feel like you've learned during the intercalation?
So that was something I had not had any experience whatsoever. So that was something I had to pick up during the project. Thankfully, my supervisors were really helpful in that they gave me a lot of resources and talked me through a lot of things. So I was able to pick up the basics, I guess, quite quickly within a week or two, and then be able to apply them in the project. Yeah, that was something unexpected, but I guess it's kind of cool. And now I can say that I do know how to program in R. Maybe in the future that might be helpful.
So this is what you wrote your dissertation on then, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's what I wrote it on. The dissertation, only 5,000 words in length, is written in the style of like a research paper. Along the way, you kind of learn how to write a paper and go along that process.
So how was the whole experience of writing that dissertation?
It's something I hadn't done before in medical school. Like, you barely had to write essays at all. So it's definitely a very different experience. You have a lot of time and it's pretty much up to you how you manage it. You have to be really organized in yourself. So you have to be able to manage your own time, hit your own internal deadline. And learning how to write these sort of scientific papers and these essays, something I'd picked up again. It's a very useful skill to learn during intercalation, as it gave me the time to be able to learn how to do that.
How do you feel like these skills would help you in the future?
I think during med school, there's not much time to learn these research skills on the side. I think due to the demands of medical course, it's quite tough. In the future, I feel like I'm more able to read papers if I want to learn more about a new specific topic, what's involved in writing a paper, be able to critique a paper's methodology. And going along with that, also be able to write one yourself, see which kind of topic areas research as a whole is lacking, and be able to see, okay, right, let's try and investigate this problem or this question, and be able to write a paper and then go about publishing it too. So that was something I want to take forward. As a doctor, I think that's quite important to be involved in research and to kind of advance medical knowledge. And that's something I want to take away from my intercalation. And so far, yeah, I've been able to publish one paper as well, using the skills that I've. So that was really nice. Definitely helped. And I think without the intercalation, I probably wouldn't be able to have done that. I think for me, I definitely needed the time to be able to learn all these things.
That's good. So did you really enjoy your year out then?
Oh yeah, for sure. It was quite intense initially. Again, I had to go to lectures. They were all mandatory attendance, but it was really good. Able to meet new people, live in a new city, new friends as well. Like there were 30 of us in the course, and we all got to know each other really well because we were in the lecture together, and they're all a really nice bunch. And it was a bit of a break from medicine as well, being able to have a bit more free time to yourself and do the things that you like, explore the hobbies that you want to do, enjoy university life again, to go see all the different kind of societies and clubs that you can join. So it was really amazing, yeah.
Sounds like you had a really well-rounded year, so you're also working on these amazing projects and having some time to work on things that you enjoy for yourself as well.
Definitely.
What made you make the decision to intercalate?
Medicines are definitely a very, very demanding, university courses. It definitely gets you quite a bit going in place, and it definitely tires you out quite a bit. So I definitely wanted a break from that. But also I wanted to be able to, again, kind of get involved in research as well. That was something I wanted to do in medical school, but I didn't feel like I had the time or the energy during medical school to be able to do that. Yeah, basically learn a bit of research skills, and also learn a bit more about a topic that I kind of enjoyed in med school, a bit more in depth as well.
So what would you recommend for people that are kind of stuck right now, not sure whether to intercalate or not, especially because the point system has now changed as well for the foundation years?
I would say intercalation is something that you don't want to be doing just for the points. Like, that's something I wasn't really considering that much. I guess it was an added bonus, but unfortunately right now obviously they've changed things. I would say is think about what your reasons are for intercalating. Like, if you do want to break, I would say it is a good way of doing a break from medicine, because you can have that break while also you get an extra degree and you get these extra skills alongside that. You definitely be able to become refreshed when you go back into year 4 or year 5. Do it in something you're interested in as well. You are going to be doing it for an entire year, so just make sure you have some sort of interest in the topic you're doing. And if you do have an interest, like, you will find it really, really enjoyable, really, really intellectually stimulating. But if you are on the fence, you don't know exactly what to do, I guess there's no harm in applying. You might as well apply and then think about it later. But it's got to be something that you really do want to do. And if you want to pick up research skills as well, I think intercalation is a great way of learning how to do that. It depends on the course, but some courses specifically do focus on research and how to carry it out. I think that's something that you just don't get that teaching in med school, that you can't dedicate the same amount of time that you can in intercalation. So if you are interested in research and interested in the topic, like, highly recommend, yeah.
Okay. Did you have any experience in research before you went into this?
Personally, no, I did not. I did try and do some here and there, but I was unsuccessful in getting in like these link projects. Unfortunately, I was a bit unlucky with those. I had completely no experience at all before. Only during this intercalation year I was able to pick these things up. Read a lot of papers. You have to do journal clubs, discuss papers, and also be able to present as well. All these sort of things I was not able to do during medicine. Like, it's something I could really focus my time on. Yeah.
No, I think that's really nice to hear, because I feel like a lot of people, what they worry about is, I don't have any experience in research, I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't want to intercalate because I'm a bit worried that I don't have the skills to. So I think it's really nice to hear that you didn't really have much experience, but you still managed to do a really good job.
Yeah, exactly. You need no experience whatsoever. Like, the course, they went through things at a kind of slow pace, kind of told you how to do things, and they slowly built you up over time to be able to learn these skills. Become more used to speaking in public, kind of doing presentations to help you learn how to write in a scientific manner. The supervisors themselves, always an email away. You can always meet them and have a chat if you're struggling with things.
Are you happy for people to contact you if they have any questions?
By all means, if anyone wants to talk about it or email me or whatever, that's completely fine.
That's great. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you very much, Fatima, as well.